Hi, and welcome once again to Virtual Vision FM, your platform to all things spiritual. The first thing I want to do today is wish all you fathers out there a fantastic Father's Day. You have deserved everything. But, I just want to say, too, that every day is kind of like Father's Day. We should be appreciating you every day, all the time. So, but do enjoy your special day today. And I also want to do a quick shout out to all the moms who have taken on that role of father as well. It's double duty, but double the benefits too. So hope everyone is enjoying their day. It's beautiful out here over in Victoria, BC, Canada. It's hot and it's sunny and it's beautiful, and everybody's outside probably at the lake or the ocean or something. And so hopefully you'll be able to watch this show later. We have an amazing guest on with us today, and we are going to be speaking with her shortly. First, I want to bring on my co-host, Nina Ashby. Nina's over in the UK and has been extraordinarily busy again. And hi, Nina. How are you doing?
Hi, Era. Lovely to see you today and to see everybody. I don't know why we have feedback, but that's what we like.
Yeah, I'm not getting.
Oh, I know. I know why.
Okay.
Oh, that should be better. Sorry. Anyway, I've had a fantastic week. I've had a little bit of culture, so I've been to see a fabulous exhibition at the Tate Modern Museum here in London on a gorgeous day, walking beside the River Thames, and it's just so inspiring to see art and to be amongst people and to be by the river and soak up the atmosphere of London in tourist season. Even when I'm not a tourist, I just love London, and it's so fantastic. And here we are today, midsummer day when day equals night, the equinox, and it's not very summery here in London, but I love the fact that when I wake up at 4 o'clock, I'm woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning by birdsong, the dawn chorus, and it's just so wonderful to see the light, beginning to, rosy pink at the edges of dawn. It's just so beautiful and so early, and it's a wonderful time of the morning. I'm often awake at that time of the morning because it's a time when the psychic vibration is very quiet. There aren't a lot of people up. There aren't a lot of people talking on televisions or tuning into their computers or whatever. So it's a great time to meditate. And I must say that meditation has been very easy for me lately. For some reason, it's very easy to climb up to the astral plane and get information flowing. And it's been a very inspiring week, a week where the light has been very, very strong, and the connection to light has been very strong. So, yeah, and I guess the tide of the cycle of life where we are in the season here in the Northern Hemisphere also corresponds to an inner tide, and we need to ride that inner tide. And it's always, yes, I know these things intellectually, but when it's being synchronized with my own personal experience, it's so wonderful.
Mm-hmm. I love how you put all of that, because I think a lot of people are feeling that and may not be aware of exactly where it's stemming from. Now, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, because you seem to know more about astrology than I. There's some sort of significant placement of Saturn, and it's really kind of throwing a lot of the past onto our path for review once again. What's going on with that? Can you tell us?
Okay. Well, Saturn remains in a sign for 2.5 years, but most of the outer planets, so the inner planets, so Mars and Venus and Mercury, and they all travel quite quickly, so their cycle around the sun. And we've just passed a Mercury retrograde, so what happens is that the Earth goes ahead of Mercury, so it appears that Mercury is retrograde, and then Mercury catches up again and then goes forward, or direct and forward. Well, the same thing with Saturn. So Saturn spent 2.5 years in the sign of Scorpio, and moved into Sagittarius, and now it's made its way back into Scorpio and will be there until the end of the year. So it's kind of revisiting all of the 2.5 years stuff of Saturn. So Saturn in its positive form is about limitation, restriction, focus. And it's also about chucking out the things that don't work for you and having to take a long, hard look at, what has value in your life. Saturn is a hard taskmaster, though, and it can be often viewed as a negative thing, because it is about limitation and restriction. So people going through Saturnian types of experiences are, their car doesn't work, their computer doesn't work, maybe they're making less money, or things happen. It's often a period of loss, and this is because you have to let go of things that no longer have value, and you have to start to appreciate the value of things. Now, Saturn going in through Scorpio. Scorpio is a fixed water sign. So water is all about sensitivity. It's all about emotions. And the sign of Scorpio is the sign of, shall we say, birth and death, life. It's also about deep feelings. Sometimes people call Scorpios saints or sinners. It's extreme, and it's a fixed sign, so things don't move easily. The energy doesn't move in fixed signs. Fixed sign energy is all about discovering the value of things. So the value of your emotions, the value of where you put your emotional commitments. Scorpio also is about things that are hidden. Think about the lake, a restricted water. So it's all about the deep emotional stuff that doesn't necessarily rise to the surface easily. So Saturn in the sign of Scorpio brought up a lot of hidden problems, hidden emotional agendas from the past. And so if you're a Scorpio, if your planet's at the end of Scorpio, then you will be revisited once again by this Saturn transit back into Scorpio, the final hit to actually resolve and clear up and clear out in your consciousness this stuff.
It's already been in Scorpio for quite some time, and it
Yes.
moved out, and now it's moved back. So really, it gives people an opportunity, if they think they've cleared something from their past that has been lurking deep and dark within themselves, then it will come up again, just so that you can be sure. And
that's right.
That last opportunities exist all the time, but sometimes when the planets are aligned in a specific way, it allows things to be moved through faster. And even though Scorpio is the water fixed sign, Saturn allows that to surface more easily than it would at any other time. So use the time wisely. And I know that just coming out of Mercury in retrograde on June 11th, that in itself gave us pause to reconsider, review, rethink, renew, doing all those things that kind of are redone. And so we've really been blessed with a couple of alignments that are here to serve us. And I'm a firm believer that nothing happens to us, everything happens for us. So we feel put upon. We needn't feel like victim. We just need to understand that everything has universal law of rhythm. Everything has an ebb and flow. And to go with it, don't resist it. To quote this movie, resistance is futile, right?
It's right. Well, this is a completely normal and natural process. And if you think about it in terms of kind of our emotional evolution, a child, learns how to do something and they feel, "Whoa, this is amazing." They repeat, and then they realize it and they freak out and they go and cling back to their mother again. And then they go out again and practice some more. So in a way, this is what we always do. We go forward and then we come back to integrate. I won't say we go backwards. I say we come back into ourselves to integrate that information and understand it, and then go forward again with that, with more
Well, that
control over it.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned meditation earlier, and I think that's what happens during meditation as well, where we can go into meditation and have all these profound things happening, and we're feeling on top of the world and very inspired and motivated. And then other times we go into meditation and we kind of go, nothing happened. What's going on? And we think we failed or something, and really in essence what's happening is that you've been given information on such deep levels, and now it's time to experience it, live it, and integrate that, because the integration can only happen through action. And the Council of 12 always tells me anybody can read a book and know something. Anybody can. But it's the transmuting that knowledge by action that creates wisdom, and it's that wisdom that goes with you from lifetime to lifetime. So, there are times when that integration is necessary. So go with that too.
Yes.
Sounds like you've had an amazing week. I've seen you were really busy at Selfridges again this week. I hope everyone took advantage of that wonderful opportunity to actually sit with you and have a session, because you are amazing.
Well, thank you very much, Era. It is always a pleasure to do my work and to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
I want to sort of emphasize too that we might be located all over the world. You're in the UK, I'm in Canada, Ted's in the UK, I'm still in Canada, right? But that doesn't mean our work is isolated just to the geographical location that we're in, and that you do a lot of work via Skype, and you are all over the world, basically.
I'm all over the world. I speak with people. The beauty of modern technology is that I have clients that I speak to on the phone, and I speak to via Skype calls, so we can see each other eyeball to eyeball. Asia, Africa, Europe, the United States. And I have a very international clientele. I've always had an international clientele. Even when people came to my house, my husband said to me, I never saw so many foreign people before. I've always attracted people from other countries, and I absolutely love that, to get into the psyche of different cultural assumptions, I think. Yeah. Is very interesting.
Well,
I'm sure that's the case for you, too.
Yeah, I have that same kind of global clientele, and I love it. It makes it challenging, though, when you have a session to do a summit in Australia when there's an 17, 18-hour time difference. So, yeah, but you just do it anyway, and it always feels so good. And I've been doing a lot of teaching this past week, as well as it's been phenomenal. If there's one thing that I work aggressively toward, it's to empower individuals, empower them to be who they came here to be. It doesn't matter what the experiences have been that led them to this point. It's all coming together so that they can become who they were always meant to be. So that's always a thing with me, and in the teaching and watching people transform their lives just by being given a tool and watching them, use it, and then seeing the changes come forth, it's just absolutely amazing to me.
It is.
Before we get to Ted here, I just want to cover something. Once again, we don't have Nick Humphreys with us here this week. Nick is a co-host on Virtual Vision FM. He has been off to Norway a few times, and today is Father's Day. I'm sure he's spending it with his precious daughter, Bella. And I know as well that he is missing his own dad, who went to spirit not too long ago. So our hearts are with you, Nick. I hope you are able to have a wonderful day in spite of. Okay? So thanks, Nina. I'm now going to bring Ted on to the show. Hi, Ted. I'm sure you've been busy, and I'm sure you have a TP update for us. Over to you.
I do. I tell you what, with you two ladies for the first sort of 15, 20 minutes, there's so much inspiration that I get, and no doubt the listeners presently and in the future who re-listen, because every subject you talk about resonates with me, and as I say, I've no doubt everybody. And Nina's mention of meditation and the importance of that reminds me that I should be doing that, and it's very easy not to do these things. And I've only recently been thinking about it, and it's given me that oomph to get and do it. And the same with the planetary sort of situation. You ladies know, and other listeners regularly know, that I had a bit of a jury out on all of that, being very much a one for the moment and in this sort of immediate. But having experienced over the last few months what would appear to be planetary influences for sure, I've come around to that sort of way of thinking. Did you know that I don't know if it's National or International Yoga Day, and there's a guy in India, the Prime Minister, I think, was leading it to try and get as many people in his country at the same time of day, all practicing a particular yoga stance. And I just happened to catch it on the BBC News earlier, and what a fantastic sight to see everybody sort of practicing with their hands in front of them and doing that. So
I
that
just,
is one of those bring people together moments, which I thought,
yeah,
wow, how cool.
I just want to comment on that because here in Victoria, well, in British Columbia, our government, our provincial government, decided to have a National Yoga Day, and they were going to close down an entire bridge in order to have everyone go on the bridge and practice their yoga. And what was really not well planned is that it's also the Aboriginal Celebration Day today, where we celebrate our native heritage and celebrate with the tribes that are in existence in the province. And we also have to realize that hardly any of those tribes have treaties yet. So it was a bit of a slap in the face to the Aboriginal community. So they had to scrap the yoga thing
Oh,
because the public outcry was just huge. But I know that there are other events that were carried out all over the province and to great success. And I would have loved to have seen that in action, actually.
it would be a sight to be beholden, and what I saw of the short snippet, it was quite extraordinary. Um, I've had the tippy is not another story, but sadly, the guy who has stitched it and prepared it is currently flat on his back and unable to bring it down and set it up, but I'm one of his priorities. So something in the planetary system has delayed that, and he's I don't know how bad he is, but he's apparently got back issues. So it's ready, it's imminent, and as soon as he's better, and I'm sending good thoughts that that will be up and running. I've had the usual great week, absolutely great week. I mean, we pack them in on a Wednesday evening for the regular healing exchange and a reader going on right behind me in the room I'm in at the moment. I've had the great week as I always do, but interestingly, and one gets it every so often in life, there's also been something of an assault on the Universal Life Church, of which I'm the reverend, and I've made no secret of it, that it is based in Sacramento, I think, California, and more recognized in the USA and maybe in Canada, but less recognized in this country. I've made no secret of the fact that that's the way through which I use the title of reverend. Also the fact that I'm going to undergo training as a Corinthians minister, which is more recognised in the UK. And there's been a degree of an assault upon the ULC that a local guy with who I've had some issues recently has decided to really diss the church, not realising that it is in fact a sort of religious intolerance in a way. And I ummed and ahed about it as to whether I sort of countered it or got involved in it. And then I was down the bottom in the Namaste Garden yesterday, a couple of days after the event, and it came to me that I would challenge and take this guy on. So without intending to sound negative, because everything is generally positive in life, but you'd be a fool to assume that everything's good, and every so often you haven't actually got to stand up for what you believe in absolutely radically. And you know, I go around very happy and I do what I do, and I'm very, you know, very content with my vision and what I do. But I'd be foolish not to accept that there are some negatives that every so often have to be sort of taken on and argued. And I realise my passion for what I do then when I am defending it. And the whole point, this guy then decided to acquire a certificate for himself and then claim that the whole thing was a fraud. Well, the fact that he'd done that and the methodology through which he'd done it created the fact that he was the fraud. So I've taken him head on and pointed out that it's a church that subscribes to us all being church, it's children of the universe for one thing. It encompasses all religions, all denominations, all colours and all creeds and whatever. And he seems to have sort of backed off at least and ceased, I hope, and will desist. But every so often I and ahh'd, as I say, because in my way of working, karma, you can trust in karma. You can trust in the angelics to deal with, but sometimes you kind of, I think, rightly or wrongly, and I'm open to being told off for it, I think sometimes you have to stand up for what you believe in and get quite vehemently passionate and aggrieved by that sort of assault on. And karma's great, and it will happen, although it takes its own time. Yes, putting mirrors around yourself so it reflects back on the individual, yeah, that's all very well, but sometimes you have to make your own voice heard. And it's very interesting and really encouraging, actually, because you realize that there are people behind you, there are people who care about you, there are people who love you, there are people who like you, and they will come as that extra support system just to back you up. I can fight my own battles, but equally it's nice to know that someone's, you know, got your back as well, and you're not just the sole voice. So that's happened this week, and I, you know, I'll put it out there that if anybody chooses to challenge the validity of what I simply use as a title, but I live by the tenets of what the Universal Life Church do. If they wish to criticize spiritual healers, which this guy also did, he did a very scattergun attack approach towards local Reiki masters, psychic surgeons, reverends, and everything, and then claimed that he wasn't actually directing it at me, where, you know, it was a little bit obvious to me and my group and friends that it was a deliberate tickle of the nose of the sleeping tiger, as I put it. Well, don't tickle my nose because you'll get bitten
But you know,
back.
Ted, I understand what you're going through, and I have seen some of your posts go by on Facebook, and I thought, good for you for speaking your mind. I mean, I do know that you function with a positive, genuine, loving intent, and that's what makes the difference. And karma isn't punishment. Karma is all about cause and effect. Whatever he causes, this person causes into being will reap.
Hello?
I've lost Era.
Okay. So
It's Era gone.
Era's gone. So Ted, why don't you do the 1 minute me moment now?
Yeah.
And oh, there you are, Era. You disappeared.
Did I?
Your sound completely just cut
So,
out.
yes.
Isn't that spooky?
That's
Yeah.
weird.
That's
Yeah.
weird because, now conspiracy theorists might say that everything knew where I was going to that little convo.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so anyway, it's, you know, it's just the sign of the times right now where everything is becoming under attack. And, you know, I mean, it's happened to me this past week, and I just think, I'm going to choose my battles. I don't need to prove to people how right I am. All I need to do is keep doing what I do because I love it and it makes me feel good. And if I'm doing that, then I'm empowering the people around me. So there we go. And thanks for saving us there, Nina. I didn't want me talking. That's funny. So, Ted, let's get to your 1 minute me moment, and then we can get Gail on the show.
yeah.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it enormously. As always, we have a fabulous guest due. And this dear 1 minute me moment that takes more than a minute to explain, but I will try and condense it, folks. Yes, interesting that Eric got cut off midstream there when perhaps enough said. that's what they're telling us, and there is a reason for that hiatus and disconnect. They're going, enough airtime, enough thought time for me, and everything. But I've expressed what I've said, how I feel about it, and would encourage people to be positive and to be not affected by the haters that can be out in the world, or those who seek to attack on occasions. They won't win. They truly won't win. So yes, the 1 minute me moment, something that came to me quite a while ago now, is that we don't get or feel that we get sufficient time in the day to take for ourselves, and we're told that we should maybe do 20 minutes exercise a day, or eat our 5 a day in the food sort of range or whatever. But as far as we're concerned with work and children and relationships, etc., we don't take time out. And my idea was simply that if you get your mind around a 1 minute for you moment in each day, then at least you've done something to connect with spirit, with guides, or your inner self and your higher consciousness. So my suggestion is that at some point during the day, when the partner is at work or the children are at school, or you have a quiet moment in your lunch hour, is to sit in a chair comfortably, a comfy chair that you're at home in. Place your feet on the ground and initially imagine that you're grounding yourself, and that's connecting a small vine between your ankles, and then taking another vine from the middle of that one down, down, down deep into Mother Earth, and attaching around a rock or a boulder deep in Mother Earth, and that grounds you and keeps you from floating off etherically. And then as you're doing that, imagine an aura of gold or white around you, like an eggshell of protection, rather like in the UK, the Ready Bread Kid, who had that wonderful golden protective look around himself. And with your eyes closed, preferably concentrate on your breathing, and breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, in through your mouth, out through your nose, and that makes you concentrate that you're doing the mouth rather than the nose. And just spend 1 minute of each day, once you set yourself up with the protection and the grounding and the breathing and the concentrating on yourself, and connect with loved ones. Now, the loved ones don't need to have passed. They can be on this earth plane. They can be your mum, your dad, your grandmother, somebody who you connect with on a strong level, whether they're a guru or a guide or a teacher or a tutor. And equally the same spiritually, you can connect someone who has passed, who has taken the transition. I don't use the word death. I don't believe in that there is a death per se, that there is a transition and an eternality to life, and it's a continued consciousness, and I have direct proof of that, which is absolutely awesome to know, and I hope as many people in the world get to know that truth. At least it's my truth and quite a lot of other people's truth. So connect to your guides, whether they be angelic, they may be past loved ones, again, your mother, your father, angelics, the Native American, your Buddhist, whatever, with whomsoever you resonate and wish to connect with, and spend that minute out of each day doing that connection. What you'll find is more than likely it will develop into more than 1 minute, but initially and essentially try that 60 seconds and increase it to 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes if you can. The crucial thing is just to take that minute moment to start with and be as simple as that, just for 60 seconds. So ground, protect, connect. Oh, I hadn't thought about that. How well does that work? Ground, connect, protect. So that's the 1 minute me moment, folks. Try it, give it a try, and you will see the validity and how useful it is for you. And now back to Nina and Era.
Hey, thanks, Ted. You know what I say, try it, then deny it, right? Nina, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Era.
Let's bring Gail out.
Yes.
Hart is an amazing talent, so blessed with an interesting quality, many interesting qualities actually. She is a psychic, she is a tarot card reader, she does flower essences, she is clairvoyant, there's just a million things this woman is. So let's have a little chat with Gail. I will turn the reins over to you, Nina, and
Thank you.
Be prepared for Ted and I to have some questions though later on. Welcome, Gail.
Of course, we want your participation. Gail, welcome to the show. We're so happy to have you here as a guest on Virtual Vision FM and to feature you and introduce the world to your amazing talents and abilities. So why don't we start off with you giving us a little taste of kind of how you got into it. You know, I know only the tip of the iceberg, so I'd be really interested too in telling me how you discovered your gift and how you began to work with it.
It's a very interesting, frequently asked question, Nina. And funnily enough, my second book starts off exactly with that question. And it starts off, at what point did you know you were psychic? And I think, if I had £1 for every time I was asked that question, I'd have £2.50. No, I'd have a lot more than that. I actually got to about 15 when I realised that not everybody else was psychic. I just assumed, because I'd grown up with it, that this is how everybody was, which meant for a very frustrating childhood, because I just assumed everybody was telepathic and people would ask me questions. I would think the answer. When I had to actually open my mouth to say it, I found that really frustrating. And I just didn't understand how people just couldn't automatically know. So I had what Jerry Humphreys describes as a sense of knowing from a very young age. I had memories of past lives from the age of 4 years old. And I grew up in a family who was not necessarily gifted, but psychically aware. So both my parents had spiritual beliefs. They'd grown up with parlour games, which included Ouija board, tea leaf reading, palmistry. So these were known as parlour games at the time. And I was telling somebody the other day, the door would just open and my mum would just turn around and say, "Oh, come in," and then it would close on its own. Goodbye, and it was never ever any big deal. It was just part of being a child, part of growing up in that family environment. Certainly as a preschooler, we had a spirit in our house. I can remember my dad taking every floorboard up because all the floorboards were creaking on their own. As they couldn't find this creaking floorboard, so we put it down to it. Well, there must be a ghost in the house. I had a very strong sense of knowing. I can remember going to a day out with my family and saying I could see some figures in the distance, and they must have been about this high in the distance. And I said, "Oh, that's my nan and my aunts and my cousins." And my mum and dad looked at me and, "Poor deluded child, what on earth are you thinking?" And I was like, "It is. And I was pulling them over, and I must have been about 7 years old, and they thought they'd humour me. It's like, "Oh, well, we've got nothing better to do. Let's go in the direction Gail wants us to go in." And sure enough, there was my grandma. Every person I had identified from a very long distance, it was 2 fields away, and everyone just said, "How did you know?" And my attitude was, how did you not know? I just couldn't understand how I was the only one connecting with stuff. So very interesting. And one of the things my dad always wanted me to be was a healer. I think he was very frustrated that I was just a mere clairvoyant. And we had a very old TV, and I grew up in the generation where you didn't throw things away. I'm showing my age here. That we hung on to things and fixed them. And when the TV, probably with digital TVs, we don't get this so much, but it would go all static. It would very frequently go very static, and I was the only one who could fix it. So just by laying my hands on top of the TV, the picture would come back. And at that time, I didn't know that was healing energy. Nobody else could do it. And if something went missing, where's the car keys? Where's this? Ask Gail. I went, of course, it's under the wardrobe. Where do you think? So never, I never kind of woke up one day with this kind of like, I'm psychic. It never happened. Sad thing is, I don't think I'm quite as plugged in as I was then, because when sometimes as a child, it's almost second nature, and I didn't have to work at it, whereas now I have to kind of switch it on and off. I like to be a normal human being from time to time.
Well, that's part of growing up, isn't it? It's part of getting socialized and
Yes,
being
yeah,
amongst people more and more who are skeptical, don't
yeah.
understand, or perhaps even
That's
negative
very
about
true.
it. And
Yeah.
also you find that maybe it's just not appropriate to be open all the time.
Well, I was seen as the weirdo. I was even before I was a punk rocker. I was before I was dyeing my hair green and piercing my nose. Which I yes I've done many times in the past. And may do in the future. Who knows? Yeah, I was always kind of the weirdo and a little bit ostracized. And I think when you're a teenager in particular, you want to fit in. You
Mm.
don't want to be this kind of like, oh, she's a bit strange. So I think I kind of dampened down for a long time, and so kind of,
Well, you're really, really lucky that you grew up in a family who was very open and encouraging to you,
yeah.
because up until just the last maybe 10 years or so, 15 years, it hasn't been so public, has it?
Absolutely, yes.
And so myself and many of the people we know didn't grow up in environments that were supportive or caring and had, a slightly different karmic arrangement in terms of what we needed to learn by
Sure.
being sensitive at,
Yes.
from an early
Well,
age.
that's a very interesting word, Nina, because I was accused of being oversensitive, and
Mm,
exactly that. I think because your senses are heightened. I cried
yes.
a lot as a child. I was the one that picked up on stuff. Absolutely. I mean, Kleenex in business, and the thing is, so being seen, one of the setbacks with being intuitive is that you can see things that other people can't. And often I would see the outcome of a situation that other people couldn't. I might see that somebody wasn't necessarily the nice person they pretended to be.
Mm,
Very often in social situations, and still I've come across this. Even today, when I've been in bands and stuff, I can look at people's dynamics and go, that person is not all they say they are.
yeah.
And then it looks as though I'm causing trouble, which isn't the case. And then in the fullness of time, people go, you were right. But it may take 10 years before someone comes back to me and goes,
Yeah.
right. But this is the thing. It can be a blessing and it can be not such a blessing.
But the other thing is, don't you think that all of those experiences help you to learn how to trust yourself?
I think you're
And
right.
in consciousness, so
Absolutely.
you do it, but it's almost an automatic subconscious kind of outpouring, but there's no mindful consciousness of it, there's
Yeah.
no control over it, so you have to learn the process. I mean, how did you discover, what was your process of discovering how to use more consciously your own gifts, and where did that take you?
I think I kind of learned to not be so odd, just kind of not stand out so much from quite a young age. I think I was told to shut up quite a lot growing up. I did actually. I probably painted a kind of rosy picture of things that everything was accepted and fine, and that actually wasn't the case. I did grow up in a very harsh environment. I went to school at a Roman Catholic school, where you can imagine being was not the dumb thing. You can't believe in anything other than God and Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, which is fine. That's fine. But it was a conflict of interest, and that was very difficult, because I was kind of basically told that I was evil, because I was not your standard convent fodder, so I was a little bit rebellious around that time. I found that I did have to kind of be a bit quieter than I would have normally have been, maybe. But it was funny, because I was at the same time very interested in the esoteric from a very young age. From 12 years old, I was going to my local library and getting books on palmistry. I was getting books on tea leaf reading. I was very, very interested in body language, all of that sort of thing. And even the teen magazines, the psychology questions and questions about what star sign you are. And I learned from a young age, you know, my most compatible match was a Sagittarian, and lucky me, the boy I fancied was a Sagittarian. You know? So I was like, oh, there's hope yet, you know. So all of those things, very, very, very interesting, but learning to turn it off and on, and when it's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And I think a lot of people who go out in the world, and it's funny because I teach psychic development, for example. I've got a lovely circle who are all learning different skills. They learn tarot, they learn a bit of mediumship, and just trying to rein them in is the hard thing, you know, because they're all talented and gifted and they all want to show what they can do. And most of my work is about putting the brakes on, putting the boundaries on. And I explain it to a lot of people who are developing. It's like wanting to drive a car. And everyone wants to get in the car on their first lesson and drive, you know, normally. But you've got to go through a process. You've got to learn to wear the seatbelts. You've got to learn to turn off and on the engine. You've got to learn where the brakes are. You've got to learn to read the signs and signals around you. And I think developing as a psychic is very much like that, being aware of the dangers, being aware of your own impact on those around you, reading the signs and signals that are coming to you. You know, and a lot of people don't want to do that. They don't want to follow kind of rules and guidelines. They want to kind of joyride through life. And that, unfortunately, has a huge consequence. You know, you might be lucky, you might get away with it and have a good laugh, but unfortunately,
it could be a car crash.
Absolutely. You might get, who knows? So yeah, it's. I think, you know, this gift, as we call it, comes with a lot of responsibility. Which is why a lot of people who are naturally gifted, and I actually think everybody's naturally gifted in one way or another. And we choose to develop it or we don't. You know, we can all cook. You know, some of us are just better cooks than others. And I think some people they don't want to pursue it as a career because of the huge weight of responsibility that comes with it.
Sure.
You know, it really does.
I mean, I have a lot of students as well, and they don't come necessarily to train to be professional psychics. They train to learn how to use their own psychic ability within the spheres of life that they are involved in, because I mean, don't you think that, you know, everybody has psychic ability because it's our radar for safety in our life. And
no, that's exactly what I say, because at the end of the day, the way I look at it, no matter how sophisticated and evolved we are, we're still a mammal. You know,
exactly.
That's the basic thing. We are human beings. We're just mammals, and mammals have this. We got our senses. We've got our sixth sense, which is our survival instinct. And if you watch cats and dogs, you watch animals, they are listening all the time. You know, and we kind of go, oh, they've got supersonic hearing. Well, so have we. We've got our psychic senses. We can feel if somebody's coming towards us. We can walk in a room and go, oh. Ooh, you could. We've got expressions like, oh, you could cut the atmosphere with a knife, you know. Right. So we know this. It's in our vocabulary that we know, you know. Oh, a chill went through me when I walked through the room. So we all have these expressions, whether we consider ourselves psychic or not. It's day-to-day expressions. But I think it's a survival thing that we kind of, the hair on my back of my neck stood up, you know, yes. Or I went, you know, I had a shiver, or we have all of these things and we don't even realise. These are our basic mammalian instincts kicking in. So yes, you know, we do have these abilities. Yeah.
So you've had a very long and varied career thus far, and I know you have lots of different talents. I mean, so you read palms and you look at astrology, and you're a great lover of card readings, aren't you?
I love my cards.
And why do you think that cards attract you so much, and how do you, why do you have so many decks of cards? Now, I know Gail, and I know she has lots of decks of cards.
I don't use them all, actually. To be honest, I've got my favourite. I'm going to show you.
Okay.
Nice one. This is Old Faithful. This is my Morgan Greer.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely stars on the back. I've used Morgan Greer for a good practically 30 years. You know, this is as a professional, 30 years, which professional means I've crossed my palm. People have crossed my palm with silver. So the last 30 years. Sometimes that silver has run through strips of paper, so you know it's been incorporated. I find working with the same deck never bores me, because I will always see something different. You know, every so often I might think, yeah, I really know the Two of Cups, and then suddenly somebody different will sit in front of me and another aspect of that card will jump out at me, or I'll kind of see it in a different light. So I find it absolutely fascinating. Some decks I find very difficult to read. I have trouble reading things like the Tarot of the Marseille, because I consider certain decks to be more masculine than feminine. I don't know, I'm strange like that. I think some decks are very easy to read. I think the Morgan Greer is easy to read, which is probably why I get on really well with it and why I teach it. I've got my Bushflower Insight cards, which are more flower cards. Show you one of those now. Look, we've got Lichen there, which is for removing dark energies. So if you want a bit of house clearing, that's a good one to look at.
So just to, perhaps for the interest of some of our viewers who may not be that familiar with using cards, what's the base? What do you consider to be the baseline principle of why cards are effective system for divination?
Sure. It's a tried and tested method. We don't know the exact dates that cards go back to. There's hints at them dating back to medieval times. There's hints at them, you know, they're quite an international method of divination. It's a system, which means a system can be learnt. So a bit like maths, you know, you learn a system, but you can also interpret it your own way. So anyone who learns tarot as such would learn that there's the major arcana, the minor arcana, which is basically two decks within one deck. There's a belief that modern playing cards are derived from the tarot deck. So the fact that there's the four suits. So in playing cards, we've got diamonds, hearts, clubs, and spades. In tarot, we have coins or pentacles. We have rods or wands instead of clubs. And we have swords instead of spades. And we have cups instead of hearts. So if you kind of think about, you know, you can associate hearts as being love. So when you get your cups, you can look at love and emotions. It's easier for us to kind of relate to them. And I think to have a picture in front of you, it can feed information to you. So for example, when I'm reading palmistry, and I do a lot of parties and events, my palmistry is quite basic, but it gets me by, and I can read palms for maybe 5-10 minutes, but I can't answer questions with palmistry such as what's going, you know, how are things going to work out for me in my next job, or when you know, the people might say, when am I getting married, that kind of thing. But with the cards, you can answer questions. So if someone says, you know, not so much when am I getting married, but they might say, will I get married to this person that I've just met on the bus last night? You know, you can pull a few cards for that and go, stop fantasizing, you know, it's never going to happen. Or you can say, oh wow, you know, you'll be meeting him tomorrow on the bus and it'll all be fantastic. So I love the way that cards can kind of show a picture. I look at cards very much as, you know, when we learn to read, you know, we read without words. We have storybooks, picture books. So as toddlers, this is what we're looking at. We're developed, we're to learn to read pictures and tell a story from a picture. And tarot is exactly that. We're telling a story by looking at the pictures. And it's very different to looking at a palm. It's very different to looking in the crystal ball. If you look in the crystal ball, you've got to wait for the story to come to you. Whereas with the card, the story is already there. And it's much easier then to kind of say, okay, Nina, next week I see you going on a bike ride and meeting 5 friends. And, you know, It's more. I just have a passion for tarot. I think that's it. Everyone has their different passions, don't they?
Yeah, yeah. I know. So I know you've always had an interest in the natural world. And you said in the beginning that you were studying herbalism, but I know that you've been very involved with more the energy side of flowers and Bach flowers and flower essences, and I see behind you flower cards.
Absolutely. Again, one of my passions is working with plants and flowers. I'm a qualified Australian bush flower remedy practitioner, and what they are is I've got little bottles with me here. This one is Dog Rose, which is for confidence. I've had a few drops already. It's worked. I should have seen me earlier, honestly. I should have done it before and after. That would have been ideal.
Before the computer.
Yes, as Nina will testify, I was in a complete meltdown moment of I can't do this, I don't know how to operate the computer. But a few drops of Dog Rose, and also my trusty Waratah, which is used in emergency essences, for panic. So I'm not panicking anymore, thank you. And Nina, lovely Nina, talking me through without fueling my panic, calming me down, which was wonderful. But with the flowers, what I found was, we were reading tarot for so many years, I got to a frustration where tarot is quite limited. It can do so much for people, but it can't cure. For example, if someone says, the tarot might say someone's suffering from stress and anxiety, but it won't offer a solution to that, because it's not the tarot's job to offer a solution to it. Now, with the bush flower remedies or any flower remedy, you might find that you're drawn to certain flowers, which may actually then be for stress and anxiety for that person. So I often find I work with the two together, that working doing any kind of reading with somebody, they might then say, well, I'm having problems with being overwhelmed, I've got obsessive tendencies, I've got critical tendencies, my confidence is bad. And the remedies, the flower, will resonate with that person. So, for example, behind me, I don't know if the viewers watching are drawn to any particular flower, and if they do, just say, Gail, we'll do the golden shot, up a bit, left a bit, down a bit, and we can pick a flower and say why you're drawn to that one, what that one's all about. For example,
I'll tell you which one I like.
I
see like a daisy behind you.
Is it to this side?
Yeah, yeah. It's it's a yellow bit. The second row from the bottom, the second card up.
Tall yellow top.
Yeah, that's
that one.
Yeah.
That one is it's when people are feeling a bit down and feeling a bit isolated. So it's actually for alienation, loneliness, and isolation.
Oh dear.
it would be, but our immediate understanding of that would be kind of like, oh, I don't get that. But it may be you're an American away from America, so it could even be saying, oh, I'm feeling a bit isolated because I'm not in America right now around foreign American fellow Americans, that kind of thing. Or being isolated from a particular situation. So you have to kind of like look into it as to why that is coming up for you.
Okay.
Sometimes they might not be what it says on the tin, so to speak. You have to delve a little bit deeper and try to kind of get to really unearth it. But certainly that would be one about kind of connecting with people. And the yellow flowers are very good for like communication, for kind of allowing you to kind of be confident in your own self. So a lot of the yellows are allowing you to shine. So that's a nice way of looking at it.
Interesting. Great. So right. So I think I'll call in Ted and Era now. You've shared so many things with us, and see if they have anything that they want to ask or interject at this point. Hello, Ted, Era, are you there?
I'm here, hot foot with tea.
Oh, fueled up.
Need to be rather. Yeah, as so often, hearing Gail's sort of story of the early times sort of thing, I totally get that, you know, about people thinking you're a little bit strange, and then you do actually sort of get there as you get older, and you learn to sort of contain it, control it, and present it to the world in the way that you do, and that only comes with sort of time and experience. I'm just wondering if anyone in the chat room, and if Gail's open to this, whether anyone in the chat room have got any questions, and whether Gail would be prepared to do sort of any sort of observations or readings. I'm happy to put myself forward, unless I don't want to leap in on ahead of Era or Nina, but I think in action would be really quite exciting if you're up for that, Gail.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Yeah. Yeah.
Before you start with that, Ted, if you don't mind, Era, do you have a question to ask Gail?
I'm not quite sure if I actually have a question. What I wanted to kind of say, Gail, is that I love your story. I absolutely love your story, and I can totally relate, having been born that way myself. And some things you just know, and it comes as a matter of course, and it isn't really anything unnatural. But you do feel kind of, goofy. And so I learned as well to just not talk about it, right? It's just you keep to yourself. What I love about what you do is that you have branched out into so many different areas that allow for empowerment of individuals to come in all sorts of different ways, and I applaud you. I think this is a wonderful, wonderful avenue for you to have opened up and put yourself out there and to help others. I think it's just wonderful. I do think that Alfie Divine was hoping that you might pull a card for him. And he's in our chat room right now, so if you would like to do that, that would be great.
Okay, I'm having a little shuffle for you, Alfie, and this is what we call a bit of a blind reading, when we don't have a question and we just see what comes. Okay, have we gone off air for a bit, or are we still here? I think we're still here. Okay, I pulled 3 cards actually for you, Alfie. The first one is the 6 of Cups, which for me is a reunion card. So it talks about somebody you've not seen for a while getting back in touch with you. So if you're waiting for a text or a phone call or to hear from somebody, it's really good news for you. The second card that I've got for you is a compromise one. And it talks about no-win situation, and maybe kind of compromising and meeting in the middle in a particular situation. Feels like a work situation to me. And then the third card I've got for you is the Hermit, which is spiritual wisdom and looking within for your hidden talents. Maybe it's time to lead and not follow. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed your little reading.
Wow. I don't know Alfie personally to any great extent, but I think that was I think that's helpful. Alfie, if you could just, Alfie says thank you, Gail, but Alfie, if you could just sort of attest to how that fits in your life right now. Yes, he says it's happening right now. The first card that you drew is happening.
Lovely. Okay, I've got that now. I've just realised how to open chat. Okay. Good stuff. Yes. Yeah.
The second card, he says he's on the go at the moment, and the third card is bang on, and he says thank you very much. You know, sometimes those kinds of just on-the-spot readings, when there's no frame of reference given or questions asked, it can be such a relief to some people, just because how could you know, and yet there's the answer. So I think that's pretty
it's a very interesting thing to put out there, Ara, because I think us psychics, we've got a tough job. You know, people might think we've got it easy. We've got it very tough, actually, and we come across people challenging us a lot. And very often we'll get accused of fishing for information, for example. And they might kind of think that we're giving the answer based on what they tell us about themselves or the question they ask. So if somebody says, oh, is my boyfriend coming back? We might automatically think, oh, they definitely want their boyfriend to come back. Let's have a look. Let's kind of do it in their favour, and then they'll keep coming back. It's not like that at all. When people come to me for a reading, I say to them, don't tell me anything, you know, and it's very hard because sometimes people that have come for a second, third, or even fourth time for a reading, I get to know them and I want to say, how's your day been? How's things going for you? And I have to say, we'll do the reading first and then I'll ask you how you are, because otherwise I'll get accused of feeding, you know, having the reading fed. So all I do is get somebody to shuffle the cards. I ask them to clear their mind, think about what they want to know, and I let the cards do the talking. You know, sometimes I don't think it's necessarily I'm any more special than anybody else, not at all. But certainly the cards are a very good system, you know, a tried and tested system. They've been going for hundreds of years. If there was nothing in them, they wouldn't have survived all these years. So yeah, I do enjoy blind readings. Yes.
Yeah, well, I love that you do that, because so many out there I've seen allegedly in the work do fish, and that's not entirely fair, and it does not lend any credibility either to the reader or to the person on the receiving end. I mean, it just kind of falls short. The other thing, and I just want to sort of put this on the table to see what you have to say, is that I know that sometimes I'm reading to someone who is sitting right in front of me, or even on Skype, whatever, and I will not even look at them. When I start reading, I will look off in the distance. I'm out there somewhere, because I don't want them to think for a moment that I am gauging what I say on their body reaction or facial expression as I'm, you know, getting that information and spitting it out.
Yeah. Do you know what the funny thing is? Is I get clients coming up to me in the street and saying, "Oh, do you remember me? You know, you read for me, you know, however long ago." And I said, "I don't." Well, actually, to be more honest, they turn up on my doorstep for a repeat reading, and I have to say to them, "Have I read for you before? Have we met?" Because, like you say, I find it very difficult to look at somebody while I'm reading, because I go into a trance-like state. My eyes change. And it's a bit like gazing into the distance, really, even though that person is in front of you. And as a clairvoyant, it means I see things. So I might see images in that space between me and that person. So I'm more interested in looking at those images, which I can describe as being like daydreaming. When we daydream, we see things very vividly. And when I'm doing a reading, that's how I see it. It can be very sharp images. It can be animated. I could see colours, I could smell things, I could even taste things sometimes. So the person sat there is almost irrelevant, you know, so irrelevant sometimes, you know, which is why phone readings work. Because people go, well, how could a phone reading work? How can that work when I'm not sat there? But you've got the voice vibration. You know that person's LinkedIn. When you work with your guides or your higher self, that's what you're connecting to. You are not necessarily reading that person. You're going on a higher level.
Exactly, exactly. I'm so glad you said that, because I know I'm off in the distance a lot, because I'm extracting, I'm receiving vibration, I'm interpreting it at breakneck speed, and then matching it to words that come out of my mouth. I mean, it all happens simultaneously. And then all of a sudden something will interrupt me, and I'll look at my client. But I guess because I'm just so focused on receiving, that I have this intensity about me that you kind of sit back in the chair and go, uh-oh, what did I do, right? And it's like, no, I'm working, I'm so sorry. So yeah, sometimes it's best.
Apparently, I mean, I get told this from people who are my clients. I will occasionally just kind of start glancing up to the ceiling or something, and they start freaking out. They start going, is there someone there? What's going on? And it's not that, it's just that my eye gaze sometimes just has to go somewhere, because I find it very tiring. I can't just stare at the person. So it's occasionally I just kind of change my eyes a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm really glad that we talked about this even briefly today, because a lot of people, when you sit with them, they don't expect not to be looked at. And sometimes they feel excluded, but it's the information that sort of says, oh yeah, this is working just fine. But you know, you have to know what you're in for when you come for a reading, right?
It's
So
interesting, isn't it? I mean, you're fascinating. I've never met you before, Ara, but you sound really on my wavelength. You sound like a fabulous, fabulous, gifted lady. And yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I don't know if you can relate to this. I'm sure you can. I'm sure all of you can. Where I might not recognise the person. They've come again for a repeat reading. It might have been 6 months since I last saw them. It could be a couple of years. It could even be 5 years since I saw them last. I'll start the reading and I'll go, I can't remember anything about you at all. And then sometimes 10 minutes into the reading, suddenly it'll all come flashing back, and then I'll go, are you the lady with the ballet dancing daughter, and didn't you go to Greenland for Christmas, or whatever it was? And suddenly, how did you know? But because you've tapped back into that energy, into that frequency, it's almost like going into a library. Oh, there's the book I was looking for.
Perfect analogy. Perfect analogy. I love the way you work. We have someone else that would like a card reading, if you don't mind, Gail. Her name is Lovey, and she is in Australia, and she's in our chat room.
What's her name?
Lovey.
Lovey. Oh, right, I've got you. Okay. So just a cold reading, no question. There we go. You can ask questions, I don't mind. The difference with asking questions is I can then relay the information in context to your question. Otherwise, it might kind of sound a bit kind of like, oh, you know, it kind of fine-tunes it a bit more. So let's again. Oh, nice cards, Lovely. First card you've got is the Two of Cups, which for me is a romance card. It shows somebody interested in you. So as far as romance and friendship is concerned, it's a very good time for you right now. However, there's always buts. You've got the yes, buts, and what ifs card. And this is the way, I have pet names for a lot of my cards. So this one is my yes, buts, and what ifs, and maybes card. And to me, it's all about those very words hemming you in. Yes, I could have this great relationship, but, you know, maybe he likes me, or even, what if something happens? So don't allow those yes, buts, what ifs, and maybes to hold you back from going to where you want to be. It's self-restriction, self-limitation. Watch out for it. And the next one repeats itself. It's almost like underlining. So if you get a couple of cards on the same theme, it's like shouting it out. It's like putting it in bold, you know, in capitals and bold, and then underlining it. So this, again, is one of my self-sabotage cards. So it kind of says, things are going good for you right now, Lovey. Don't try to puncture it. Don't try to let the air out of it. So it's all about, you know what? Just have a bit more faith in the way things are going for you. This can also be somebody else coming in and trying to, they call it rain on your parade. So when things are going good for you, beware of somebody that is kind of, oh, it's not that good really. You know, somebody who can be a bit negative. They'll soon move away. So this card always indicates somebody not necessarily in your favour, but moving out very swiftly. And the nice thing about the Seven of Swords is it's a very quick moving card. The person's identified, you might even have an idea already of who it is, and then it moves on. This isn't the card where it's like, well, this might happen, you know, in 5 months' time. It's happening now. It moves very quickly. I feel I'm repeating myself. I created my own echo. I hope that was all right for you, Lovey.
Yeah, Ducky, Lovey, if you would just type into the chat room what you want.
That's so me. Oh, bless her.
Good.
I read that. Oh.
I'm glad that you nailed it. I wasn't, I just had a feeling you were. So, Ducky, thank you very much for the feedback.
It's really about trust, isn't it, Ara? It's really about trusting the information you're getting. And I think that was my stumbling block for years. And I think when I was younger, sometimes I would get the information, but I would question it. So, for example, my own, what's the word for it? My own concepts, my own judgment, I think, sometimes got in the way. I got in the way of myself. So I would see stuff, and then I'd kind of go, look at the person, and then go, oh, they couldn't possibly. For example, I had a lady recently, I'm sure she won't mind me saying, she's a well-known client, and because of her age, which was maybe in her 80s, I looked at her card and there was three men on the go, and I thought, no, But oh yes. So, don't get, if you're learning to read yourself, don't get in the way of yourself. Don't make judgments. Don't make assumptions, because there are some very interesting people out there. And believe me, you'll meet them. You'll meet them all.
And you're so right, Gail, because the information isn't for us to understand. It's not out. So we have to trust what comes out, even though it doesn't make sense. And the one analogy I use, I mean, I sat here with a gentleman who had lost his son, and he wasn't really wanting to believe that there was a connection until I had to say to him, "You had pierogies last night for dinner."
You had what?
Pierogies. They're a Ukrainian dish. And
Whoa.
his jaw hit the floor, and he went, "Yeah, I did." I said, "Your son is telling me that he was there with you when you ate dinner last night because he knows what you did. I don't, right?" So you do have to trust that information that comes through, even though it makes no sense.
I tell you an interesting story, if I'm allowed.
Sure.
I do a lot of party work, and I work at very noisy corporate functions and so forth. And people say to me, "How can you possibly get any information in that noise?" And it's a bit like having the ability to meditate in the middle of a crowded intersection, or in London would say Piccadilly Circus, which is the noisiest, craziest roundabout in London. And if you can do that, if you can block out the noise, which I can, thankfully, then you can tune in. And I had a lady, she wanted a bit of mediumship, and it was at a party, and I thought, oh, I don't know how appropriate this is. So I just asked my guides. I just said, well, what can you give this lady? She wants to connect to her. I think it was either her mum or dad. I have trouble remembering. And I said, can you just give me something for this lady? She wants a bit of comfort. And they showed me the Tasmanian Devil, the cartoon character. I don't know if you're aware of it.
Yeah.
And it's like a little sort of, monster type thing. And I said, well, all I'm getting, love, is the Tasmanian Devil. And she burst into tears of joy. And I thought, oh my God, I've made a lady cry at a party. I'm going to get thrown out. But she was so happy. She said, Tasmanian Devil was the one toy that her parent had given her as a child that she really cherished. So how things work in a busy, crowded party environment, it amazes me. It just, the whole process of it all just completely amazes me.
Yeah, and it all comes down to that trust you spoke of. That's amazing, Gail.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
Sandra in the chat room, she was hoping to get a reading. I'm not sure if she has a question. I did ask Lovey if she had a specific question, and she didn't. So you just nailed that one. So Sandra, if you have a specific question, please let us know, and we will entertain that for you. Don't miss out, you guys. I mean, Gail obviously is pretty darn amazing, so now's your chance, right? And I know Ted had asked for, did you have a specific question, Ted, while we're waiting for Sandra?
I'd be delighted. Yes, thank you. Just an observation, the fascinating crossover in the work that I do. I mean, I say to Aaron, Nick, and Nina, I'm not a medium and all this. Oh, but you are, Ted, and all that sort of thing. But my main passion and love is healing and bringing the word that, it's very real and it's very powerful sort of stuff. But an interesting crossover with the work that you do, that when I have a series of clients, say, an event where there is literally one after the other, I've found that I'm disconnected from the one before, and I'm then taken to the next and to the next to the next. And of course, I don't have somebody teaching me why that happens. So I've worked out that basically my guides are actually disconnecting from my mind from the previous, so I don't carry over the baggage to the next. And I have exactly the same thing, that if a few months later I'm at an event and there's a repeat client, which fortunately there aren't too many of those, but some like to come for just a sort of little top up of energy and whatever. I'm exactly the same. People assume that I'm going to remember them and everything about them. I am so blank on the canvas when they appear that I recognize the face, but I don't actually remember the condition that they had. But within a very, very short time, I'm back into their energy, and oh, you are the person who, as you say with card readings, you're the person who has an issue with the lower back or whatever like that. So there's an interesting crossover between the whole thing, because it is basically working with energy and information given from beyond, not necessarily, well, certainly not from us. I would be, yes, I didn't want to sort of hog it at all, so anyone in the chat room who wants something, please, in an ideal world, ask a question that you'd like answered, or simply ask for a mini reading. Yes, you don't know me from Adam, so it'd be very cool to tell me where I'm at and where I'm going, please.
Okay, Ted, no problem. Oh, an absolute pleasure. Do you know, I always consider it one of the highest honours when another psychic asks me for a reading. I don't know, I just really feel honoured by it, because it's a real process of professional respects. You know, that's how I see it. So, as I'm tuning into you, Ted, the hairs on the back of my head are actually tingling. So, yes, you know, I feel it's talking about you working with your guides and healing energy. And I just wonder if you've had some sort of like neck problems lately, if there's been a lot of like back of the neck, head tensions, or like needing to kind of click and move the head a little bit, maybe need a bit of a massage, okay. First card for you is Spiritual Wisdom. It's Spiritual Teacher. So your path at the moment is teaching, leading and guiding others. It's a very moralistic card. I notice you're a reverend. I'm not sure what you're a reverend in, but it is about putting the morals there, doing right from wrong. So I kind of feel it's interesting. We noticed all the angels and cherubs around you earlier, and it's all about, to me, this is about keeping the dark away. This is how I kind of see you, as somebody kind of keeping the darker forces at bay. Maybe on a kind of very psychic level, that's how I see it. So I see more clearance work coming up for you. I also feel that you're going to work more with herbs and resins and incenses. I just kind of feel that's coming in. I've got a link with you with, I don't know if it's Haitian work. I don't know if I'm saying the word right. It's Haiti.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, something's resonated, I'm hoping.
Yeah. I'll say when you're ready.
Yeah, it's a feedback in a minute. I'll just go with the flow. So this is my guides are wanting to let you know that, because I'm seeing very specific images here, and obviously the reading here is public. I'm going to be very choosy about the words that I use. But you've got this lovely lady around you. I don't know if it's a daughter, but it's a lady who's very confident in her creativity, and somebody here who's kind of coming in around you to kind of bring your creative talents forward. Okay. Do you do psychic surgery, Ted?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
I get
my
these
life.
graphic images, and I have to be really careful with what I'm seeing, you know, because it's almost like I feel as though I want to time travel, and I wonder if you've got past life memories of being in a Victorian, I want to say theatre, you know, when they used to, I've gone all shivery and tingly again, you know, that they used to have these, I don't know what the word is, but you would have the autopsy, a public autopsy, and it'd be in a theatre, and all the medical students would be around, and this feels like Victorian times, and there's a demonstration of what's going on. So I feel you have had a link with surgery through previous lives, which is what brings you into this path now as healer. You've tried to resist it a lot of times, okay? I feel as though you have tried to kind of walk different paths, but you keep coming back to this one. Now there's another lady here, and you've got the Queen of Swords. So this is somebody who may be detached around you at the moment. It may be a female who's kind of like detaching herself in some way, but it's all, I kind of feel it's to do with her, it's not to do with you. Okay? I think that's enough for now before I dig myself into a big trench.
Oh my God.
No trench there.
You know, just sometimes in life there's a reading you get, and I choose who I have readings from. I have readers here every week, and I don't sit in with them.
It's an honour. I immediately felt it's an honour that you've asked.
But what you've just done is the most extraordinary, one of the most extraordinary experiences I've had, because that is what I do, the psychic surgery. It is now the sort of passion or the extraordinary gift that I have that has developed only over relatively short time, the last 2 or 3 years. And to learn that it was maybe from where that's come from now. And as you spoke, you know, this energy oomph that you get either as a healer or a psychic or a medium or whatever, at the back of my neck, it's most not unsettling because I'm used to it. And Simon has always said I have spiritual Tourette's because I tend to thank you and like that and connect to the spirits and thank them. Oh, my life. I mean, it couldn't be more accurate, but the information you've given me has given me that indication of who perhaps or what I was in a past life or who it is now working through me. The female is probably my mother, who passed relatively recently. The Haiti one, oh my God.
Look at my eyes. My eyes are all watery. I just feel all this love coming through for you.
And I get that when I'm healing. I get watering eyes.
There's the tear coming down. Can you see?
I can't on yours because I'm looking at myself, which is a bit.
Oh, why not? Probably much more handsome.
Oh my God. Because that is what happens when I'm healing. I get floods of tears at times, which I call angel tears. When I'm not upset, it's just intense waterfall of it.
That's right.
But the Haiti aspect, now, an awesome man, Simon Ludgate, who's a friend of mine and Era's and Nina's, and is a most extraordinary man from shamanic and Reiki and angelic connection. He was out in Haiti back in the day when they had the disaster out there, doing a documentary film about it, and that's where he started photographing what turned out to be orbs, which he believes to be angelic beings, and we have this resonance, Simon and I, that is intense in our friendship and our spiritual connection and our everything. So when you mentioned Haiti, that's like, oh my God, that's too extraordinary. So I'm not too long in the tooth to go, oh my God, at experiences that I have, because, you know, something new happens every day. In brief, but how can you be brief about that? That is one of the most astonishing readings that I personally have ever had. It's one of the most astonishing readings I've ever seen happen. Because without really knowing me, and the classic is the psychic surgeon aspect, which if you didn't know that already, is like, oh my God, again. So, you know, I'm rarely lost for words, but I'm like stunned, and thank you. That's everyone who's watching and listening and whatever will know you are so incredibly spot on. It's like you know me and have known me. Hello.
I think Nina and I need to have cards done with Gail.
I think you do, bless, yeah.
But before that happens, we do have Sandra who's been waiting for a reading.
Oh, okay, no worries. Am I doing a blind reading this time, Sandra?
Blind one. I asked her if there was a specific question.
I'm going to mix it up a bit, okay? I'm going to do 2 cards of my Morgan Greer, and I'm going to do 2 of the flower cards as well, just to kind of show you how the flower cards work.
Perfect.
Okay. So I'm just going to have a little shuffle. My way of shuffling is I shuffle 3 times, and then I cut into 2, and then I pull the top cards that come up. I have a very interesting outlook on shuffling. We shuffle to break up the energy of the last reading. That's the reason we do it. Also to mix the cards off. That's the obvious one. And before I cut the deck, I have what I call my moment of magic. And I have this strong belief that until you open the cards, the spirit world can come in and rearrange the cards exactly to how they're meant to be. So when people say to me, have I shuffled enough? I say, well, it's up to you. It doesn't matter if you shuffle for 2 seconds or you shuffle for like 3 days. You know, it really doesn't matter. The energy goes in as to where it's needed. And occasionally, people will shuffle and shuffle and reshuffle, and the same cards will come up. And then they say, oh, how did that happen? I go, magic. Okay. Now, For Sandra, the first card is the Three of Swords. Listen to me. Three of Wands, and it says you've already established yourself in your chosen field. You're still establishing yourself now. This feels a kind of work and endeavours to me, and you're looking to the future. And you're looking for new places to kind of like connect with. So it may be that you discover new hangouts, for example, but it's all about pioneering, you know, being the first one to go and kind of break the mold. Got a happiness card here, lucky you. So this is all about good times, particularly where relationships are concerned. So look at both of you sharing that cup there and all the rainbow colours coming out. So it kind of feels to me as though you've found somebody that you really connect with on a deep level. And I just see lots of laughter there. I also get lots of daisies around you, which to me is about childlike activities. Now for the flower card, you've got Mulla Mulla. Now, I don't know where you live, Sandra, but it indicates a sensitivity to heat. So Mulla Mulla is all about blistering heat, or it can be internal anger. So it can come up when somebody feels really like that. We say boiling with rage, boiling with anger. So when I'm tuning into this for you, Sandra, I'm kind of feeling as though there's something you're needing to say, to communicate, which is rather kind of getting you hot and bothered, so to speak. Got K-pop bush as the second flower card for you, which is about perseverance and willingness to try. Are things breaking down around you? I went through a run of this myself. My washing machine broke, my car broke, everything, like really expensive things started breaking. So this to me is about also a project that you've been trying to get right, but you feel like giving up on it. But it's about just keep going at it. And then I kind of feel it's almost like, you know, when you keep turning the key on a car to get it start, and then the third go, suddenly it kicks into action. And I just kind of feel, and it does, again, it feels work related actually. Just keep persevering, keep trying, and then things will get going. There's a lot of momentum here. March in particular is well aspected around you, not sure why. Maybe a particular celebration. I'm not always big on dates and months, but that's just popped into my head. There you go, Sandra. Hope that's all right for you.
Okay, we're going to wait for Sandra's feedback, and we'll let you know. In the meantime, Alfie has a question,
Yeah,
and
sure.
that question is, have you ever worked with alien guides? I have recently been told I have an alien spirit guide from the Greys.
I love that you've asked that question, Alfie. Let me tell you a little story before I answer that. I went to do an event with somebody who goes to one of the spiritualist centres in Great Britain, very famous, well-known spiritualist centre, and was told everyone was to name what guide they worked with, and they all went round. Oh, I've got Native American, I've got a nun, you know, I've got a monk, all the usual. And then this lady turned around and said, well, I've got an alien. And this lady just couldn't get over it. She said, what's she doing saying she's got an alien guide? And I said, well, did you ask what it was like? And I think sometimes people, they consider themselves to be spiritual, but they're not expanded to the whole universe. You know, there's still, it seems to be with some people, a limitation and a kind of template. Now, I have worked with aliens, funny enough. When I do my healing, I'm attuned to a type of Reiki called Shanti, which means perfect peace. And the lady that attunes me, a lovely lady called Miranda Gray, if you ever want to look her up, Gray, she's a published author. She's very, I think, one of the most amazing ladies I've ever met. She literally glows green with healing energy. When I met her, her hair, I could see green in. She didn't have dye. It was her healing energy. And she said the colour ray she works with is green. As she moved her arms, I could see green. Very, very talented lady. And she said to me that when we use the Shanti, the alien energies come in, the extraterrestrials come in, and they help to move and do the healing. Now, I only had her word for it when I did that. I thought, ooh, it sounds a bit bizarre, not sure I'm ready for all of this. A friend of mine who is also a Reiki master, not a Shanti, but the traditional Yushi Reiki, had come for some treatment with me, and she went up into the toilet, you know, to get ready so she would be comfortable for her healing. And I was aware that the guides had come in, while she was up there. And when she came down, I said, the guides are already waiting for you. And she said, I know. She said, I saw a blue alien on the landing when I came out. So I know that my colour ray is blue, that I work with, I've been told I work with the blue ray, which is a lovely, lovely vibration. So it's interesting, I'd love to hear your experiences, Alfie. I certainly wouldn't rule anything out. The idea that we can talk to dead people, is alien to a lot of people in itself. That's an alien concept. So why not? Why not? Why? I talk to trees. I will connect with tree spirits. I will see the green man face in the trees. And I did that for years before I knew who the green man was. I would go to plants and say, what plant are you? And the plant would say, oh, I'm a juniper bush, or, I'm a blackberry. So what interests me is a lot of people who develop as mediums are stuck in this kind of linear world of I'm only going to connect to dead people. Why not? Why can't we go further interdimensionally to different beings? We've got children now who connect with unicorns and dragons and very much believe in that. I mean, I could talk forever on all these different subjects. I really could. But I work as a herbalist. Part of my training, I'm in my 3rd year of training as a herbalist in Great Britain, and I work with British native plants. And part of our training is to connect with a flower. So my homework at the moment is to find a lime tree, which is known as tilia blossom. Connect with the tree, describe the personality of the tree, the plant devic energy, the plant devic spirit. And when I'm making that flower essence, which I'm hoping to make this week, I invite the energy of the tree, the diva, the spirit guide of that tree, to put the energy into the essence, the remedy I'm making, which then goes on to help the people who take it. It's a very interesting concept. It amazes me the people who do get it, because when you say it in words, it sounds so bizarre, but it works. That's the most amazing thing. When people try to tell me about electricity, I don't understand electricity. I really don't get it. You can put a telly on, you can look at the computer and I can see Nina's face, I can see Ted's face. I don't get that. I don't understand how that process works. But I do get how energy transfers when we try to make a healing essence or when we give energy in healing.
It's wonderful. Really fascinating. So, yeah, who did you read for last? Was Sandra. Well, Sandra was very complimentary about what you're reading. She said, thank you, I'm always persevering.
Lovely.
And David B. asked you for a reading as well.
Okay, David.
Another
Again,
cold reading.
I know. And that, I think, the thing about the cold readings is I like to think you get the you get what you need to know. So when you kind of ask a question, I wonder if you guys can relate to this actually, where I've had clients come, I'm sure you have, I'm sure you can all relate to this, and they might say, well, I want to know about moving home, for example, or am I going to get the job? So you put the cards down, or you tune in, and suddenly the guides cut in, they start heckling. It's like, we're not going to talk about that. What we are going to talk about is your next life direction, because that's far more important. But what about the job? What about the move? And you're going, I'm not getting an answer on that. But guess what? And sometimes the higher beings know better, and it can be very frustrating as well when we've got somebody who, if that's someone who understands that, that's fantastic. We can work together on it. But sometimes the person that's getting the message can be like, I don't really get that. That's not what I've come for. So it can be a bit frustrating. Anyway, sorry,
I've had experiences where I had that people ask for mediumship and they have an expectation about who they want, and then they get somebody else. They get somebody, but I didn't know my grandfather, and I never really knew him, and I don't know why he's here. He's not the one I want to hear from.
I like him. I don't want him. Yeah. Can I have Johnny Depp instead? No, he's not dead, but still. Anyway, it is funny, isn't it? It is very interesting. What some people don't understand is that for some spirits, they need an introduction. They need someone to bring them through. So, you can go, oh, I don't know who that is, but it may be a friend of that spirit that's kind of saying, well, I'm getting them through for you. I'm just paving the way. Because it can be a shock. Someone might say, I really want my dad to come through, and when they do, it's like, oh my God, especially if it's first time reading, it's like, how is that possible? Anyway, David, I haven't forgotten you. I'm going off on tangents, but with your reading, you've got my favourite card in the whole deck. Okay, so you must be special. So Nine of Cups. Okay, the Nine of Cups is known as the yes card. So something that you're thinking of, is it going to happen? Is it going to work out? The answer is yes for you. It also is all about it's my happiness and dreams come true card. So it's make a wish. Things coming good for you. Some people see this card in a more negative light. I've never really read the Nine of Cups negatively, because when it comes up, I go, oh, great, I'm going to get what I want. So this is all about getting what you want right now. You're getting a reading. There you go. That's what you want. It's working already. It's amazing. Here we have the Page of Pentacles, which is all about study and education. So it's a really good time right now to apply yourself to learn new things. Your flower cards. I bet you can't wait. Here we go. Sydney Rose. Now, Sydney Rose is an interesting one because on the card it talks about realising we're all one, that there is no separation. This will often a flower that will come up for very spiritually gifted people who are having trouble finding their clan or tribe. So it may well be that you find people are just around you but not on your wavelength. So the Sydney Rose is about helping you find people on your wavelength. Bush Iris, interesting one. Are you going flying soon? Because it's a very good one for people who are frightened of flying, actually. But it's about deepening your spirituality and fear of. It talks about addressing acceptance of death. So it's really about understanding the spiritual world, that there is no ending, that there is a continuum. Okay, David, you're saying, wow, this is so me. I've no idea what I'm saying. Words just come out of my mouth. It's really strange. But I'm glad you like your reading. Thank you.
Oh,
Well,
thank you.
David, that is so you. And I have to say, it's about time as well. David I've known David for years and never really met him, but I have known David online for years, and he is a consummate searcher and seeker, and he is always on the lookout for the truth. So, wow, David, I'm so glad you had that from Gail. Awesome.
Brilliant.
Ooh.
Yes.
Just had to let the energy settle for a minute there. It's just fizzing.
Yeah. It's lovely.
Yeah.
I think the energy tonight is really powerful. It's nice to be able to get clear communications for people. I work very much with the tools around me. I use my flower essences on an almost daily basis. I like to use Soma Pomandas as well. So I was having a dab of my quintessence of Pallas Athena I'm working with right now, higher extended energies. And it's lovely that the people that are tuning into the program are very much on this wavelength, very much understand this conversation. Years back, this is how expanded we've become, because Nina, you were saying about how years ago this was more of a closed shop. It really was, because when I started doing readings as a teenager, you didn't have these psychic centres. You didn't have, you might have had the spiritualist church, but you had to really try and find those. And we would maybe know of somebody who did readings in their living room, this kind of thing. You couldn't just go up to a new age shop. People didn't have the awareness of crystals and angels and all of this stuff, The modern age we live in is it's a better platform for people to understand their spiritual side, you know? It really is.
Very much so. You have a fan here whose name is Helen Parsons, and she's
Oh,
saying,
bless her.
watching my dear friend Gail, she has done many readings for me, and even though she knows me well, will always come up with something she couldn't know about me. So that's
Yeah.
high praise indeed,
Oh,
Gail.
bless her. Well, do you know, it's funny because you think you know somebody, and when you tune into them on a psychic level, the thing is, we only tell people what we want people to know about ourselves, don't we? We don't sort of air our dirty washing, so to speak. We don't tell everybody everything. We edit what we want people to know about us. And when we do a reading, it's kind of going beyond that. It's allowing someone to kind of open the cupboards and see what's in there. So it's a very personal thing. And one of my friends I've known for many, she's 30 odd years. One of my friends, not Helen, but another friend. And yeah, I won't go into it for, you know, obviously I don't want to embarrass the poor lady. But stuff came up about her relationship, and I kind of told her that she was going to have an affair before she actually did, you know, and I kind of knew it was going to happen. And then a few weeks later, she asked for her cards read again, and I just looked at her and I went, "This has already happened, hasn't it?" And she just kind of nodded meekly. And then the poor girl, I gave her his name, that he was married, that how many children there were, and she just looked at me and said, "I can't keep anything secret from you, can you?" And I thought, well, bless her. And I said, well, you actually can, just don't ask me to read for you. So, and that's the difference, because I'm sure you come across this a lot. I'm sure you
Yes.
relate to it, where go public, you meet a new friend, you tell them, you're introduced, you know, on a social level. This is Gail, she's a psychic. And immediately, either people are like, how fascinating, I get their palm shoved up my nose, you know, read my palm straight away, you know, even if I'm queuing up to go to the toilet. Or they back off and think, oh, they're going to tell me what colour knickers I'm wearing. You know, it's kind of, people, and I've had people just stare at me. And I'm kind of like, why are they staring at me? Because they think I can read their minds. And it's very, very, I don't know any other job that you get that in. You know,
Yeah.
I've worked as a seamstress, and people don't go, can you just look at this hem for me?
Right.
Yeah, my favorite was walking into the legislative dining room to have coffee with my friends, and I would walk up to the table. There might be 7 or 8 people sitting there, and I would say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And immediately someone would grab my wrist and say, "Why? Do you sense something?"
Yes.
And, well, I thought we were friends first, right? You know, like, if I have something to say to you, I'll say it, but it doesn't mean that everything that comes out of my mouth is tuning into somebody, right?
Yeah, that's very true. I went for a coffee recently with a relatively new friend, actually. And bless her, she's just had a baby. If she watches it, yeah, congratulations and everything. Got to go and see the baby yet. Apparently, I predicted this baby, so she tells me, you know, and which is really nice. I don't specialise in predicting births or anything, so don't start chasing me up for that, please. But we'd gone for our first coffee as friends, and I was in a way dreading it, because she said, I'm fascinated by everything you do. I'm fascinated by the spirit world and readings and everything. And I thought, oh, here we go. She's kind of wants to be my friend so that she can get free readings and not drain me, but just pull the information out, interrogate me. You know? And she sat there and she was as sweet as pie. She looks at me and she goes, I've got a feeling, Gail, that sometimes you just want to be you, and you don't want to be, you know, that you just want to be a normal person and have a normal conversation and just have to meet someone for a cup of coffee and not talk about all of the psychic stuff. And I could have hugged her, because I just thought, yeah, sometimes that's all I want. I just want to be somebody's friend, you know, have a coffee, talk about everyday things, you know, and I do value that.
Well, one of the things that I'm sure that you'll all understand is that, you know, because we've trained, we can turn the volume up and turn the volume down. We're not on all the time.
Yeah.
We couldn't be walking around the world switched on all the time. It would be just too much. And besides, it's disrespectful.
Yes.
We you know, as professionals, we don't want to be looking into everybody's lives. They have to give us their permission to do that.
Absolutely.
And it's very, very much part of a strong moral and ethical core that we have to work to in order to do the best that we can do for people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very true, Nina. And a way that I used to describe it was like driving with your headlights on all the time. And if you drive with your headlights on all the time, your battery's going to get drained. And when you need your headlights, the light will be dim rather than bright. So yeah, exactly that. We do learn to turn it all off. Yeah.
We've had one last request for a reading, and Elpida, which is a wonderful name, hello Elpida, would like to have a reading as well, if you wouldn't mind, Gail. Last one of the evening, I think.
No worries. Okay. I'm enjoying my time here. I hope you invite me again. I'm really having a nice time.
Well, you've predicted what we were going to ask you.
No way, really? Yeah, well, do you know what my favourite joke is? When people say that to me, I go, "Oh, I think I might be a bit psychic."
Yeah, exactly.
You go, "Oh, you're really psychic." I go, "Oh, I think I might be a bit good at this. Do you think I could make a living out of it?" I think never lose your humour. That's a very important thing. If you take yourself too seriously, you know, you kind of lost the game a little bit. You know, just have a bit of a laugh and accept that it's not all of you. It's not your personal power, your personal energy doing it. It's the energy is working through you to give communication. And I often say, I'm just the telephone. You know, I am not the message. I am the telephone, the vehicle for which it comes through. Now, Elpida, General One, here we go. Same card as David, and I did shuffle. So David and Elpida, I don't know if you know each other, but there's some good things happening in your lives right now. This is the yes card, the happiness card. So it's time to kind of raise a glass and have a good time. However, again, there's always a however, isn't there? We've got the moon card. Now the moon, I could do a whole program just talking about the moon card. It's, to me, in a nutshell, this is about timing, because the moon phase is a 28-day phase. So this is saying that something important is being revealed to you within 28 days, roughly a month, okay? So this time next month, you have more clarity on a particular situation that's going on around you. I also get a sense of whether you should move or not, and I feel it's a substantial move. And I'm wondering if you're American, actually, because I'm seeing teepees, I'm seeing Native American teepees, and I'm wondering if either you're wanting to go to visit somewhere that's is like a reservation, something like that, or you're moving somewhere around that kind of environment. If you are, take me with you, because I'd love to go. Mulla Mulla is your flower card. Same flower card. Again, honestly, I have shuffled the cards. Same flower card that came up for somebody else. Look, there is a whole pack here. There's not just 2 cards in the deck. So again, about sensitivity to heat. So to me, this is about making sure you're covered, you don't get sunburn. And it may also, I wonder if there's a fear of fire somewhere along the line. Okay. You've got the Waratah as well, which is the remedy I took earlier. It's all about fear and panic. Waratah, it talks about dark night of the soul. So it talks about a situation right now, which for you is very difficult. And it's as though people are trying to throw you ropes to help you out, but you're not quite sure whether to trust the ropes that are being thrown to you. You're almost kind of questioning the motivation of others that are trying to offer you assistance. Now, this is all about kind of overcoming those kind of like worries and getting on top of it, you know, so the panic is over. When I tune into it, I've just been shown like fire engines, as though sort of psychically fire engines are needing to kind of like cool you down and to kind of rescue from a situation where you're not quite sure how to get out of it yourself. But all I want to say to you, I get a sense of gravity here, that this is a very serious situation around you, and that on a spiritual level, help is coming. Hope that makes sense to you.
Wow. Peter says she's thinking of moving.
there you go.
Wow.
28 time. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. If you have anything else to add about that reading, Alpita, we'd love to hear about it.
So if people want to get in touch with you for readings, of course, your website is listed up here on the screen, www.gailhart.co.uk. And you also can suggest flower essences and sell flower essences to people that are appropriate for their situations. And do you give healing? Do you, aside from flower essences?
I do what I referred to earlier, the Shanti He, which is a hands-on healing. It can also be done absently. When I make a flower essence for somebody, I do bespoke blends for people, for anything from 1 essence to up to 10 essences, depends on what I feel guided to do. We can do the reading, the flower essences with a consultation, or I can just pick randomly, or you can actually order the flower essences as individual essences from the shop on the website. They're £10 including postage and package. If you're overseas, then email me first and I'll find out how much it is to send, to post overseas. I can't quite get them down the emails yet. One day they'll find a way to do that, trust me. So yes, all of that, and the psychic readings, again, I can do by Skype. Again, if you're international, I can do Skype readings, phone readings, and of course you can always come in person. I'm based in Essex, and I will travel for parties of 3 or more people.
Yes, and I'd like you to plug mystical parties. Now,
I would love to. Okay. Nina is one of my lovely colleagues who works for Mystical Parties, which is an organisation. It's a kind of events company. We're going to expand into events. I haven't told you about that yet, Nina, but we will be. Working on that at the moment, putting some ideas together. And we have about, I think it's about 20 or so psychics on our books. So it's not always just me. You can book our lovely Nina, you can book our, and one of the other psychics on our books for your party or event. So somebody will turn up. For example, last night we had the lovely Jane Cunningham doing ribbon readings at a 40th birthday party. Last week I was in a top London hotel doing tarot readings from table to table. Last Saturday I was in a private members club. I was doing face readings, and lovely Zeldy was giving palmistry readings. We like to dress up. If you're having a masked ball or something like that, we'll dress up. Weren't you? You and Zeldy did the Great Gatsby together.
We did a Great 1920s party, and I was dressed up. Yeah, I made myself a headdress with a ribbon. And Gail, I've never met a psychic who likes costumes as much as Gail. She has a costume for everything, and she goes dressed for the occasion, and I absolutely love it. And actually everybody loves it because it just gives that great sense of occasion. I think that we get, sometimes as psychics, we get a little bit po-faced.
Yeah.
You know, a bit serious, and thinking, oh, well, people aren't going to take us seriously if we go dressed up and this, that, and the other. But it does add, I think, appropriately, a sense of occasion to a fun situation.
What I love about doing the party work is when we do the private work, we tend to attract sometimes some very heavy readings. I mean, you noticed my voice tone change for the last reading there, where I was aware of the gravity of some of the situations around this lady, and of course having to be quite tactful there because of being on a public forum. When we're at the parties, we don't have to deal with the heavy stuff. We can have a bit of fun with it, and we can literally be fortune tellers. You know, we can be very tongue-in-cheek. It doesn't matter as long as you're having a laugh. But the funny thing is that the stuff will come through because the spirit world, the guides, will still want that person to get a message. So no matter what kind of fun we're having, we can still get a message across in it. And sometimes they will then attract somebody who really needs the message, who wouldn't normally go to a psychic.
Yeah.
So that if they're at a party, it's like, oh, I wouldn't normally waste my money on that rubbish. You know, that'll be their attitude. They'll sit down because they're getting their 5 minutes for free. So it's like, what have I got to lose? And then you can blow them away. And then the amount of times I've had somebody sit there and say, I'm a skeptic, I don't believe in this, I hope you're not offended. I'm like, but no, you couldn't offend me. I'm being paid anyway. You know, I don't know why. Problem. And then they turned around and said, wow, I really thought there was nothing in this, but you've just described this, that and the other. And I mean, you know, the people I've read for tonight, you know, just a couple of cards, you know, that's nothing compared to a half hour sitting, an hour sitting. But as you said, I love dressing up. I love I'm a costume maker. That was as a little girl, there were 3 things I wanted to do in life. I wanted to either make clothes, sing, I was going to be a singer, and the third one, I wanted to be a trapeze artist. Well, I'll never do that, at least not with my knees. I'll never be a trapeze artist, not unless it's a comedy one. But the circus theme, to me, that was the psychic stuff, because I do a lot of, funny enough, next Saturday I'm doing readings at an event and it's a circus theme, so I'm going to put the whole gypsy headscarf on, the big earrings, and you know what, I'll just have a laugh, I'll have a ball. No.
Isn't it interesting that singing actually equates to communication?
Very true, very true. Do you know what, Annie? We were talking about our childhoods when we started the show, and as I say, I did cry a lot as a child. I found it very difficult to speak. It took me 16 years to find my voice and to be able to actually talk and to actually more than a yes, no, or you know, respond to a question. But music really helped me express myself, because if I was very down, I could put on music that was very mellow and moving, like blues, for example. You know, oh, I lost my car keys this morning, this kind of thing. Oh no, and then the dog fell over the couch, and then suddenly, as your mood lifts, the music that you're attracted to suddenly gets more fun, and before you know it, you've moved out of that mood through the power of music. And I sung a lot as a kid. No, I didn't sing professionally. I sing kind of semi-professionally now. I'm a backing singer in a band. Interestingly enough, the band is called Flowers in the Dustbin, so I've got my flower connection going. Been in 5 bands. This is my 5th band now over the years. And it really, it links in, because any psychic work, if you want to develop yourself psychically, get into something creative, because the same side of the brain that operates with your creative self works with your psychic self. So really learn to express yourself. If you can't do it verbally, do it through painting, drawing, dancing, music, you know, all of those things.
That's really good advice. I can't thank you enough for being here, Gail. I'm so glad that you are connected with Nina, and Nina got you on the show with us today. I am absolutely amazed at your ability, and keep up the good work, because, you know, it's people like you that are so needed. You know, and it's not just to let people know whether they're going to have a baby or when they're going to get married. It is everything to do with empowerment, and you are able to shine that spotlight on people and really help them feel better and know that everything is within their control. Thank you so much, and I'm so glad that you're going to come back again, because
I can't wait. You won't be able to get
can't be back.
Can I say I am stunned, because
Yes.
I think if there's no hierarchy in my life of influence that people have had, but there was one man back in the day in Hinton who brought me a step towards spiritual understanding, and there was another one a few years ago, a lady who connected with the angelic. What you've done tonight is on a path, for me personally, the accuracy, the sheer extraordinariness of it, you know, I can't thank you enough, because that was absolutely amazing, and I will never forget that reading. And it's the most awesome reading for accuracy and getting me and my energetic reaction to it physically from spirit as well. I am literally almost lost for words, which is so unlike me, as everyone knows. But I will put your name out there as best I can in the sense of absolutely go-to lady for this, and it's been a sheer pleasure meeting you.
Thank you.
You've had so much wonderful. I'm sorry, you've had so much wonderful feedback from people you've read for tonight. David and Elpida. Elpida says, Gail, this was an amazing experience. David B. says, thank you. He's absolutely blown away. And everything that you said was incredibly spot on about the people that they knew that you read for in the chat room tonight. So everybody appreciates what you've done and the beautiful energy that you've brought tonight, your inspiration, and thank you for
haven't we?
Thank you for agreeing to come on at such a last minute and step in for somebody who couldn't come in tonight, and you've really made our evening. And I'm sure that everybody on our archive show is going to enjoy listening to it as much as we've enjoyed having you here tonight. And we really hope that if you want a reading or healing or flower essences, please get in touch with Gail. Her address is listed right up there on the screen, and I know you won't be disappointed. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Nina, and thank you everyone for listening in and the lovely feedback. I'm truly touched. I really am.
Well, we certainly appreciate you, and thank you once again for being here today. We will be back next week, so stay tuned and keep watching our Facebook page or visit our website at www.virtualvisionfm.com, and then you will know who is going to be our next guest. And
yes,
a sneak preview sometimes as to who an upcoming guest might be. So feel free, follow us on Facebook, follow us on our blog, but stay in touch because Virtual Vision FM is your platform to all things spiritual. So we'll see you next week. See you next week, Ted, Nina.
Good night. God bless.
Bye.